October 28, 2022, Destiny of Faith Church, Pittsburgh. A funeral is underway. Family and friends have gathered to mourn 20-year-old John Hornizes Jr., killed in a shootout just 13 days earlier. At 12:04 p.m., gunfire shatters the service. 5 shots, then 15 more. The live stream captures pure terror. People diving behind pews. Parents shielding children. Someone yelling to stay inside. Outside, 2 teenagers dressed in all black are shooting into the crowd. By the time the shooting stops, 6 people have been shot. One victim hit 13 times. But this wasn't random. This was retaliation. The final act in a cycle of violence that began 2 weeks earlier, when another shootout killed 2 innocent women waiting for a bus. This is the story of 2 shootings, 13 days apart, connected by gang violence and young people who chose guns over everything else. On October 15, 2022, 10:05 p.m., Cedar Avenue, Pittsburgh's North Side. Surveillance. Cameras capture several young men in the park across from a Sunoco station. Among them, 21-year-old Jalone Hines and 20-year-old John Hornizes Jr. They're watching a black Hyundai Tucson at the gas pumps. Hines crosses the street toward the Sunoco. He approaches the vehicle. Inside, 19-year-old Sharon Troutman and 30-year-old Samuel Pegas. According to court documents, Troutman pulls out a handgun and makes it visible. It's a challenge. Hines runs back to the park. He joins Hornizes and at least one other shooter. They take positions. As the Hyundai pulls out, multiple shooters in the park open fire. The occupants fire back. Both Troutman and Pegas lean out their windows, shooting toward the park. Caught directly in the crossfire. 2 women at a bus stop just trying to get home. 59-year-old Betty Jean Averett, mother of 6, grandmother of 11. 33-year-old Jacqueline Mihalik, mother of 4 young children. Betty is killed instantly at the bus stop. Jacqueline and John Hornizes are rushed to Allegheny General Hospital 1 block away. Both die within the hour. Jalone Hines is shot in the leg. The surveillance shows him limping away, blood visible on his pants. 3 dead, 1 wounded. At least 20 rounds fired. And 2 families destroyed. LaRonda Averett, Betty's daughter. My mother was everything. She was a sweetheart. Please put the guns down. It's hurting the city, the world. Bridget Mihalik, Jacqueline's mother.
Was an amazing person. She would give the shirt off of her back. She would give somebody her last dollar. She would give somebody her last morsel of food. She cared about people. When she would walk into a room, the room would light up with her smile. She was beautiful. She had a personality. She had a wonderful sense of humor. This just doesn't feel real right now. It just terrifies me to think that she's not going to be in my world for the rest of my life and her children's lives. That terrifies me. Because she was my best friend.
Mayor Ed Gainey. My heart hurts today.
So I wanted to do something with you. I want you to call and tell us what you know. I need you to speak up and say something. They shot up the sanctuary today. And I know that a lot of people are hurting. Let me acknowledge that. I know that. But to go out there and retaliate doesn't make anything better.
18 days later, Pittsburgh police announce major arrests. 21-year-old Jalone Hines and 19-year-old Sharon Troutman are in custody. Detective David O'Neill. Our investigation was primarily aided by video footage from several different sources around the area. Hines is charged with 2 counts of criminal homicide for Betty and Jacqueline's deaths, plus aggravated assault, attempted homicide, and weapons violations. Bail denied. Troutman is charged with criminal homicide in John Hornizes' death, plus conspiracy and weapons charges. The next day, police arrest 30-year-old Samuel Pigas, the Hyundai's driver. He's charged with homicide, aggravated assault, and conspiracy. But while police were building their case, the Hornazes family was planning a funeral. October 28, 2022. John Hornazes Jr.'s funeral at Destiny of Faith Church. Pastor Reverend Brenda Gregg requested police protection. She feared retaliation. The request was acknowledged. 2 officers were assigned, but when mourners arrived at 11 a.m., there were no police officers anywhere. What investigators later discovered, the 2 officers went to a funeral home on Perrysville Avenue, the wrong location. When they found nothing, instead of going to the church, a supervisor sent them to a uniform store on Neville Island. Then they were called back to the police station for administrative reasons. At noon, the funeral begins. The service is live-streamed. About 90 minutes in, people are mourning, remembering John. At 12:04 p.m., 911 receives the first call. Shots fired. The live stream captures the horror. Muffled gunshots, confusion, then panic. People scream. They drop to the floor. A man leaps over the casket, crawling toward the altar. Surveillance shows 2 individuals in all black, ski masks, gloves. They cross the street toward the church. They open fire. 20 rounds total. They're targeting specific people in the crowd. People scatter. One woman limps desperately toward the church entrance, trying to escape. The horses pulling the funeral carriage panic. One is hit by bullet fragments. Then, the shooters run, disappearing down an alley. 6 people shot. 5 by bullets, 1 injured trying to escape. 1 victim was hit 13 times. Minutes later, police spot 2 suspects on the McKees Rocks Bridge in a black vehicle. Officers stop them. 1 drops a gun. The other throws a gun into the Ohio River below. 19-year-old Sean Davis and 16-year-old Hezekiah Nixon are arrested. 2 days later, police dive teams recover Nixon's gun from the river. It had been reported stolen. Mayor Gainey at the scene. I never could have imagined it that we would shoot up holy ground. We need to make sure this never happens again. 6 days after the funeral shooting, Acting Police Chief Thomas Stangrecki releases a statement. We regret that the Pittsburgh Bureau of Police did not provide the presence asked of us on this difficult day. We are conducting an internal investigation. We consider this totally unacceptable. Investigations revealed the shocking truth. Officers went to the wrong funeral home, then were sent shopping, then called back for discipline, while 2 teenagers shot 6 people at a church. Mayor Gainey, we can't expect to win the trust of our communities if we don't respond to the call. Those responsible will be held accountable. Elizabeth Pittenger of the Citizens Police Review Board opened an independent investigation. She noted officers should have been there regardless, simply because of the assessment of intergroup tensions. The internal investigation was completed. Disciplinary actions were never made public. No officers were publicly identified, fired, or demoted. The promised accountability happened entirely behind closed doors. February 2023. Preliminary hearings for the funeral shooting defendants. Prosecutors present the surveillance video. It shows 2 individuals in black, faces covered, approaching the church. The video shows both gunmen opening fire. 1 victim was shot 13 times. Earlier footage shows the defendants walking through the area 20 minutes before, appearing to case the location. Defense attorney Casey White. You can see 2 individuals dressed in all black. You cannot identify them. Law enforcement was unable to identify them. You clearly can't see who these individuals are. The judge rules the prosecution met its burden. Both Nixon and Davis will stand trial. All charges held over. In December 2022, J. Lone Hines' preliminary hearing for the Cedar Avenue shooting. The full Cedar Avenue surveillance video is shown publicly for the first time. It shows Hines crossing to the gas station, the confrontation, his retreat to the park, the ambush, the devastating moment when Betty and Jacqueline are struck. Bridget Mahalik watches her daughter's final moments. The 2-year-old, if she hears a female voice on the phone, she's like, "Hi, Mommy." In January 2023, a surprising development. Homicide charges are dropped against Sharon Troutman and Samuel Pigs, the men in the Hyundai who fired back. The reasoning, they were ambushed and arguably acting in self-defense. Their bullets didn't kill anyone, Hines's and Hornese's bullets did. But Troutman still faces 13 charges including conspiracy, weapons violations, and reckless endangerment. Pegues faces 12 similar charges. By 2024, Hezekiah Nixon faced a critical decision. In February 2024, prosecutors successfully argued Nixon should be tried as an adult. They presented evidence of other shootings he'd allegedly been involved in, describing a pattern of gang retaliation. September 3, 2024, nearly 2 years after the funeral shooting. Hezekiah Nixon accepts a plea deal. He pleads guilty to multiple counts of aggravated assault and 1 count of criminal conspiracy. In exchange, attempted criminal homicide charges are withdrawn. He's sentenced to 11 to 22 years in state prison. Nixon was 16 when he shot 6 people at a funeral. He's now 19. He'll be at least 30 when eligible for parole. If he serves the maximum, he'll be 41. Sean Davis, his co-defendant, rejected a plea deal. As of 2025, he remains in jail awaiting trial on attempted homicide charges. The Cedar Avenue cases continue. Jalone Hines still faces 2 counts of criminal homicide for Betty and Jacqueline's deaths. Troutman and Pegues face their reduced charges. No trial dates set. The families of Betty Averett and Jacqueline Mahalik continue waiting for final justice. 2 shootings, 13 days apart. 9 people shot, 3 killed. Betty Jean Averett was 59, a mother of 6, grandmother of 11. She was waiting for a bus. Jacqueline Mahalik was 33, mother of 4. Her youngest daughter will never remember her. Jalone Hines, 21. Sharon Troutman, 19. Hezekiah Nixon, 16. Sean Davis, 19. Samuel Pegues, 30. Young men who threw away their lives and others in seconds of gunfire. LaRonda Averett, I have 2 young men, 20 years old and 16 years old. This is hard for them. Her own sons are the same age as the shooters who killed their grandmother. On October 28, 2022, when bullets flew outside this church, the police who promised to be there never showed up. They went to the wrong location, then went shopping, then returned to the station for discipline, and 6 people were shot. The officers' discipline was handled internally, never made public. No one fired, no one publicly identified. 2 years later, legal cases continue. Hezekiah Nixon is in prison. Sean Davis awaits trial. The Cedar Avenue defendants navigate the court system. But Betty and Jacqueline are still gone. Their families still grieve. And a community still asks, how did we get here? 2 shootings, 13 days apart. Connected by violence, by guns, by young men making terrible choices. And a city left wondering, how many more tragedies before something changes? Hezekiah Nixon is serving 22 years in state prison. Sean Davis awaits trial on attempted homicide charges. Jalone Hines faces 2 counts of criminal homicide for the deaths of Betty Averett and Jacqueline Mahalik. Sharon Troutman and Samuel Pegues face reduced charges related to the Cedar Avenue shooting. No officers were publicly disciplined for failing to provide security at the funeral. Betty Jean Averett and Jacqueline Christine Mahalik are remembered as loving mothers taken too soon.